All right. When we talk about current times, of course, gaming is one of the things that is hotly talked about, and there's a lot of cheats and hacks in gaming. I wonder if you can do that to our lives too, Terrence.
Yeah, that's where the term biohacking comes from, using technology to kind of improve your life. I don't know. I mean, as a kid growing up in the 80s, right, we had this $60 million man, or was it $6 million man? It was a show about a bionic human being.
Right.
And then they had the bionic woman. So stuff like that actually jog your imagination and make you think, is that actually possible? So to answer that question, we have one of the smartest people I know who's on the show right now. He's been on the show before, I mean, our previous iteration anyway. Dr. RAHMAT SHAZI, he's a technology director for Shazinnovation Solutions. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for bringing your big brain back into the studio.
Hey.
We've missed it. We've missed it. This is the perfect subject for you, really. So, can you share with us the basic, on the street definition for biohacking?
Right, of course. So, when we talk about biohacking, we are really talking about altering the scenario around you as well as inside you towards better body performance.
With technology?
Oh, yes, definitely. Using that particular data to actually assist you to decide what works, what doesn't work. So that's essentially it in a nutshell.
That doesn't sound too bad, really.
So if people want to do biohacking, where should they begin, Doctor?
Okay, that's a good question, NABIL. Thank you. So when we talk about starting to biohack, a good point to start is to actually understand what exactly are you gunning for? What exactly is ailing you? What exactly are you looking to get out of it? If you actually watch YouTube, hey, you've got tons of other videos talking about biohacking. And not so much biohacking, although they call it that. So to actually begin, you need to actually understand, right, what are your limitations? Are you looking to actually get better sleep? Are you looking to actually improve on your basal metabolic rate? Are you, for example, dealing with ailments? If you have ailments like myself, for example, I've got gout and arthritis. So trying to manage those two whilst keeping fit is a challenge. And interestingly enough, I found out, now if you had asked me about the term biohacking a year ago, I wouldn't have known what it was. But when I really dived deep into it, then I realized, hey, I've been doing this. This is how I was able to actually sustain, for example, running 12 kilometers within an hour. I've been doing it for years without realizing it. So when the call came in and asked, hey, can you talk about biohacking? I thought, oh, yeah.
This is you. You've lived it. So what have you done that you consider biohacking?
Right. Okay, so I started out looking at maintaining, or rather sustaining the running performance, yes, in spite of gout and arthritis. So I tried, for example, fasted. Have you heard of that? So fasted, yeah. So essentially exercising when you haven't had some anything for some time. It worked wonders, especially, for example, at the end of a fast. Believe it or not, you still have enough energy to actually maybe go for about a 30-minute, 40-minute run. It helps. Not just maintaining your body weight, but also sustaining, for example, your energy level. Yes, right after, you know how it is, fasting, buka puasa, tons of food right in front of you. You tend to actually wallop everything. Well, fasted really helps control your particular appetite, telling yourself, hey, I've had enough. Next is, the prayers, Tarawih prayers. So it really helps you maintain your particular energy. So those are some of the things that I've done. If I may just add, playing a song in your head as you run, trying different songs and looking at the performance after that. Surprisingly, some songs work a lot better.
Wow.
Of course, when you talk about improving your lifestyle, your physical state, your emotional well-being, mental well-being, I mean, there are a lot of things that we have talked about, like HIIT training, core training. Of course, we have the keto diet, for example. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but we have those things. So what is the difference between those things and biohacking? What is so special about biohacking?
Right, okay. So when we talk about biohacking, one of the major difference is the collection of data. Now, years ago, when we don't have cheap sensors, it's kind of difficult. Some of my pals actually had EKG machines at home.
Wow.
EKG, for those of you who don't know quite what that is, look it up. But
that
essentially,
is the bigger version of your smartwatch.
in a sense, exactly. collect tons of data. But now with the preponderance, with the easy availability of cheap sensors, I've got one right now without any particular brand, because I know you can't really push any particular brand. This is less than 20 ringgit, but the amount of information they can collect, it's enough, and it actually loads everything up onto my tablet. And all I have to do is actually analyze that data to figure out, hey, during this time, this is what I had. This is what I ate. It worked. During these particular times, I had too much satay, for example. Okay, lay off the satay for a bit. I had too much peanut sauce, gout attacks, early warning. Stay off it.
So I suppose it's a personalized way of looking at your life, because the keto diet, HIIT training, it's very general, right? It's for everyone. It's a mass kind of thing. But using biohacks, you're actually looking at your own data, your personal data. And so whatever solution you come up with, it's personalized to you. But you're a smart person, and you were able to do data analytics on yourself. What about the common man? Can we apply biohacks to our life? And if getting and collecting data is where we start, how do we then proceed? What's the next step?
Exactly. So for the general person, the layperson, yes, I was actually suddenly my brain was struggling to find those particular words. I guess the rain didn't actually help.
It's the flood. It's the flood.
It's keeping you in a sleepy state, missing your bed kind of state.
Nobody was saying just before the show, saying, hey, I blame everything on the flood. Yeah, okay, let's do that. So for the general person, for the layperson, one of the things that they can actually do is look at some specific softwares or apps that actually helps you map changes over time. And some of the stuff out there that's available, readily available, tagged to your 20 ringgit stuff, sensors, it can do all sorts of things. So explore, look at what it can do, for example, to predict your body mass. For the past, for example, 2 months, I've been focusing on sustaining my body weight, but reducing body dimensions. You may not believe it if you look at me, but trust me, the data says so.
We believe you. We do.
So body mass, or rather muscle mass percentage has gone up, body mass, or rather fat percentage has dropped. So that tells me, hey, what I'm doing right now is working. So leverage on what these apps can do. It's amazing. It's amazing.
What about vitamin intake and supplementation? Does that also count as a biohack?
In a sense, yes, actually. Vitamins, as we understand it, are essentially catalysts for reactions inside our body. So we need to actually understand which of these catalysts really make a difference, which do not. So typical stuff like vitamin C, hey, you can get it from your fruits, whichever that you actually like, but keep record of what it is that you consume, because that's going to be useful for you to actually figure out, I can't have too much of a particular stuff, right? Carbohydrates, type of carbohydrates. Keeping those particular records will actually help go a long way. Just slightly digressing, I started my own business about 2 years ago, right before the pandemic, which was an interesting time.
Yep, certainly.
Yeah. But there we go, we have on screen quite a number of some devices that you can actually use to actually collect that particular information. But at the end of the day, it's got to be yourself analyzing that. So I needed to find a way to sustain the energy in order to go through meetings, discussions online, because interestingly enough, online discussions can take a lot more energy, especially mental. Your mental state can actually, it can actually affect that. So I found certain supplements very helpful towards maintaining that, and also having about 5-6 hours sleep a night. It really helps me maintain that energy. If I sleep more than that, I find that I tend to get very sleepy.
All right, Doctor. Obviously, data plays a big role in biohacking. And you were talking about devices right now. Just now, you were talking about records.
Yes.
Obviously, all this data, in order to gain them, we need the sensors, we need the devices. And sometimes these sensors, they can cost a lot. I mean, of course, you mentioned something about, excuse me, you mentioned something about 20 ringgit smartwatch. But maybe there's this risk of that smartwatch not being accurate enough.
Exactly.
So would this be a problem in people who want to try out biohacking, attaining these sensors, these expensive gadgets?
The price can put some people off, definitely. So the trick is to actually, again, go online, find out from people which ones work for the masses. I know this sounds counterintuitive based on what Terrence mentioned just now, because we are trying to tailor solutions to oneself as opposed to just using what is available out there. Medical science says works for the average people. Some of these devices, okay, don't buy those sub 10 ringgit.
Don't buy sub 10 ringgit. Okay.
Okay, stay away from them. Just stay away from them.
Okay.
But as you go above 20, 30 ringgit, you are beginning to find some of these sensors work quite reliably. The data is believable. I like to actually use that. Get a good weighing scale. Digital weighing scale that can measure not just your weight, yes, that will actually, can depress you. So, hey, I just had that nasi biryani yesterday.
The truth hurts sometimes.
Oh, ouch! Oh, yes.
It does hurt.
And I think that's what you're going to prepare yourself for when you biohack, to be honest with the data that you receive.
Oh, yes.
Because it's, telling you the truth, basically.
Oh, yes. I've lost count how many times I had to go through that particular I guess, moments. Yes, exactly. But the truth can also set you free. It will actually tell you, hey, you have to do this. Yes, you've got, again, I keep mentioning about gout because there's so many people with gout in our country. Okay, because of that, these are the stuff you can take. Take in moderation. Here's what happens when you take too much of this particular peanut sauce. Yeah, so it really, really helps, especially here, the guide to biohacking supplements. There's a lot of information available out there, but most importantly, understand what are the ailments that you have, what are the triggers, and again, not again, I don't think I've mentioned this. You have to turn yourself into a human guinea pig, in a sense.
For yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you're going to find things that work for you. That's the most important thing. Hey, and if it's really something that's relevant to you and you alone, hey, you feel, in a sense, hey, I'm unique. Hey. Yeah, that data really helps you, in a sense, take you along on that particular journey, convince you that, hey, this is worth investing.
So how far away are we as a scientific advancement, from a scientific advancement point of view, from actually using technological appliances within ourselves, like installing chips and components within the human body to help track and tell us more about ourselves and even maybe improve performance?
Well, the good thing about having those devices installed on you is that, the intent of having those is really to monitor your biological performance. Yes. How far away are we from that? Actually, interestingly enough, we have a lot of embedded devices that one can actually install. The question would be, how much do you really want to know about yourself?
Right.
Evidently, a lot. Yes. So things that matter. So focus on items that will really help you deal with, for example, things that you are afflicted with. If you haven't done one, maybe a DNA test will actually inform you and advise you which of those devices play a very important role. I haven't installed one myself because I'm a bit squeamish with blood and the thought of having something in me, more aliens, that particular movie. Nope. Nope, and I'm not Jason Bourne.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
We all want to be Jason Bourne.
In a sense, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do we talk about a movie? It's not now. Let's do that.
We go into the world of movies. I think biohacking has been up to the, maximum ante, and we see all kinds of possibilities that can come out of biohacking. But once again, let's bring it back to a little bit of reality. Wearable devices are the closest thing we have to getting a biohacked, analysis of yourself. But in the Malaysian context, it's been true that we are a rather unhealthy society. And this has been exacerbated by COVID-19. The comorbidities have only made things worse. So when we restructured the food pyramid recently, a lot of people got shocked because now protein is the more essential item as opposed to carbs. This was something that fitness people have been talking about for a long time, but now it's embraced by everyone. Protein is the more essential compared to carbohydrates. When we present the truth, people still don't accept the truth. How do you go about changing those mindsets? Because biohacking, I think, is something everyone should embrace.
Agreed, actually. We should actually take responsibility over our own health rather than be dependent on doctors and whatever. Now, when we talk about changing people's mindsets, one of the things that we can look at I know this isn't biohacking per se, but it's social hacking. That's one of the things that my company does. So what we look at is identify those who are strong influencers, but not just key opinion leaders. We're talking about those with high trust levels within those particular communities. And we need to actually measure those particular trust levels because it's only these people who can convince the rest, hey, this works. Now, what works for me may not work for you, and maybe that's one reason why a lot of people say, I'm not, no, I have to.
It may work for him, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, this is your responsibility. Take reins of your own life, man. And women, of course. Yeah.
If I want to do that, doctor, what should be my first references? I mean, should I go to the doctor, the internet? Is there any specific page that I should go to?
Right. I personally have found the work done by Dave Asprey really helpful. It really talks to me. I mean, there are others who claim that they do biohacking, but Dave Asprey tends to actually present a lot of data-driven solutions and suggestions. And when I find that, and also he's very open about.
I'm sorry, how do you spell that surname?
Okay, Asprey, A-S-P-R-E-Y. Yes,
Asprey. Okay.
Asprey, but pronounced Asprey. Yes. So Dave Asprey. So the way he presents the information that he's found, and he's very open about what didn't work. He said that, hey, when I started out, I weighed 300 pounds.
All right.
So that really talks to us, especially the layperson saying, hey, I started out somewhere. I didn't start out at a good place. You can too.
All right.
All right. Well, that is one suggestion from our guest. I hope that you will check him out and also check out Rahmat here, Dr. Rahmat online as well, to find out more about what he does with Shazinnovation. Thank you so much for being here and sharing about biohacking. We just covered the surface. So if you want a more in-depth conversation, I think we need a 3-hour Joe Rogan level podcast.
Probably.
Get into the nitty-gritty of biohacking. And some teh tarik. Yeah.
Yes.
So in the place of good old Jack, we'll have good old tarik.